Which song on the album came together the fastest? Meaning it was the easiest, it was light work, and it felt organic in that regard.
That's a good question. I would say Everywhere We Go. Everywhere We Go because it's got my contemporaries on it. It's got Juicy J on it and Project Pat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Two brothers that have incredible contributions to hip hop. And Pimp C is on the hook. That makes these things easier as well. And it was one of those Corey Mo beats that are familiar, right? When I say familiar, it falls right in sync with music that I've been doing for years. You know what I'm saying? So it sounds timely, but it's also reminiscent of songs that you've heard from me before. So it's me, it's my brother, it's two of my contemporaries. It's a track that's very easy for me to get into. And it's just a very simple, quick process. You know what I'm saying? These songs write themselves.
Which song was the hardest to put together?
That's a good question. I would say Still Outside because
Why?
Still Outside is about perspective. It's about the fact that after all these years that I'm still outside, I'm still doing it. And it also addresses the perceived division between the older artists and the younger artists. I think there's things that younger artists can learn from the youth in terms of social media and, all these different apps and streaming. There's a lot of things manipulating the algorithm for a lot of things. They're very good and adept at that type of thing. But then there's things that older artists can teach younger artists because they're more experienced. They can help you avoid a lot of the obstacles. They can let you know who does what and why you should really be rocking with these people. Or if somebody's trying to sell you a dream that all you got to do is give them X amount of money, we can help you avoid that kind of stuff. So I think both generations have a lot to learn from each other. That's why I'm glad that I reach out to the next generation of artists, and then they reciprocate and reach back out to me.
When you were coming up, who did that for you?
E40, Too Short, Scarface, Willie D specifically. Those were the OGs that reached out, recognized that I had talent, but I was pretty green, myself and Pimp. So they just wanted to make sure, don't go right, go left right here, go left, go left now type of a thing.
Like
you know what I'm
now,
saying?
yeah.
So they were, that was my, career ways, my career Google Maps, like guys making sure I took the right route, the quickest route to get where I wanted to go. Because when you're young, you're just throwing everything up against the wall. You're exercising a lot of energy in the wrong places sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
These are guys that helped keep me focused, gave us direction, and put us in position if possible.
What's the connection between Southern hip hop and the Bay? Because you've said 40 and Too Short, and there's a synergy, right?
Absolutely, because
where did this connect? Can you break that down a little bit? Because I feel like sometimes people overlook the Bay. And, when it comes to Southern hip hop in general, but there is a strong connection.
Yeah. So I think both regions represent that independent can-do spirit.
That's it.
But more than anything, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're hustlers, we can get money, whatever, but we're very far removed from the it crowd, right? We're
Los Angeles and New York.
Absolutely.
Correct.
So we had to figure out how to make these things work ourselves in our region.
Right.
And then word of mouth played a huge part in our careers. DJ pools, which I don't know if that really exists anymore like that. People would spread records around. People would get records from other cities and not really know who it was or what it was about, but they felt the connection to it. They gave it to the people. You know what I'm saying? But no one ever, I think, outside of the South of Houston to be particular and San Francisco, no one ever had more musical symmetry and more synergy, right? We both understood we were fighting the same battle, right? Even though they were trying to get to LA, we were trying to get to New York or wherever the music was being received. We knew that it was always strength in numbers. So you can go back through the 90s, you'll see a lot of collaboration with the Bay and Houston artists, you know what I'm saying? Some of my closest friendships are with people from the Bay. Again, E40, Too Short, guys like Spice One. Me and Spice One we both just collaborated on Jay Worthy's new album, you know what I'm saying? So we're still out, still active. Guys like Ice Cube, guys that have learned to be self-sufficient, self-sustained. You know what I'm saying? Operating outside of the system, but still making that connection to the people. They were the first people that realized you don't have to go through a radio station. No disrespect, right? But you don't have to. It's an option, but it's not the best option for everybody. Everybody doesn't make music that's radio friendly.
Right.
So you've got to find other ways of getting that music to people and finding your audience. Now, the internet and YouTube levels the playing field, but back then it was word of mouth and getting in the car and going from city to city. And nobody was doing that more than us.
It's a big question, but how would have your career turned out if you did have the internet back then?
I think it would have been some advantages to it. I think it would have been a lot easier to find people that appreciated what we were doing in real time, but then I also think that we were too raw. We were just I'll be very honest, we were way too raw. People did not need to know what we were doing all the time. They did not need to know how we were moving. And there was some shit we were doing that people didn't need to know about at all. Some people we were around that, it probably wouldn't have reflected in the best way at the time. You know what I'm saying? I think we could have made a lot more money, but I think we would have got jammed up.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a lot easier for us to get jammed up because we were wild boys.
When you see now artists on social media, are you just like, oof, I don't know about posting that. I don't know about moving like that. And do you give any insight if somebody asks you? I mean, I know you're not giving unsolicited advice, but, as somebody that you look out for, do you ever say, hey, maybe not today?
I think some of them already have a sense that they might have tripped because it'll be like, oh, gee, did I trip out? It'll be that kind of thing. Like, I don't know if I should have posted. Oh, but you felt a certain type of way and you ran with it. And now you're getting them comments that don't agree with what you thought everybody thought was what you were saying. You know what I'm saying? So now you're trying to figure out, how do I fix this? How do I rethink this? And that's the reality. Once you put it out there, you can't take it back.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, I feel like you should ask yourself 5 times and then ask somebody you love a 6th time, right? And just really think about, should I do this? Should I say this? What's the repercussions? Talk through it. Really think about what's happening. And if you still feel you need to do it and you can handle the pushback or the blowback,
that's right.
Push sand, my boy.
Yeah.
Push sand, my boy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Go for it. I ain't gonna hold you.
Right. What I really appreciate is that it was important for you to make sure Corey was part of the conversation for this new album. How instrumental has Corey been when it comes to music and just everything that you've had going on? Because I think producers, we just had this conversation that producers really don't get the credit that they probably deserve. How instrumental has Corey been on this album and previously? I
mean, look, he's the soundscape, right? So everything I do is reactive to what Corey presents. So I'm not telling Corey, go sample this and go make this song and because I have a preconceived notion of what I want to do. No, I give room for Corey to come in and, be like, hey, I think this is a good song for you.
And you don't take it personal if he gives you a little,
I'm going to give him grief anyway, right? I give Corey a lot of tough love, right? Because I know how much talent Corey has, and so I always push him to be the best version of himself. Yeah. So even if Corey gives me a 9, I'm going to give him grief because I know he can give me a 10.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, but that way Corey knows when he's bringing something to me, he's got to feel like he's giving me the best thing he's got.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because he knows it's going to be a problem if I don't like it. And because we've done so much music, he already knows the tempo I like to rap at. He knows the subject matter I'll lean into. He also, like he said earlier today, it was funny, he was like, I also know what you don't like.
What don't you like? Corey,
I don't like,
no, tell us. What doesn't Bun B like?
He don't like nothing, man. So he don't like when people sample old classic UGK records and try to get him to re-rap on them. He don't like hooks that are half done in the beginning of the song.
He got a certain way he like to present music. It just rubs me the wrong way.
And he definitely don't like artists that can't rap extremely well because they won't make our album.
Yeah, this is I try to pick the best people. Absolutely.
And it has to have that, you know what I mean? I grew up not only listening to Pimp C, but Pimp C taught me everything as far as the mixing process, the hooks, the sampling, the getting live instruments, how it should sound, what I shouldn't add. So I'm so consumed into what Pimp taught me, I know what to give Bun and what not to give him.
Damn. Yeah. Okay, that's great chemistry.
Yes.
Right?
You got to give these guys room to experiment, right? That's the other thing, too. Like, every now and then, Corey will send me something. I'll be like, I don't know if I like this. And he'll be like, well, I sent it to you 2 years ago, and you said you did, right? And it's always like that. Then I'll hear, here's a funny thing. I'll hear Corey, because Corey, he produces for a lot of other people, right? So I'll hear something that Corey produced for somebody. Yeah, for example, and I'll be like, say, bro, what was that beat when I was recording? I ain't getting nothing like that. He was like,
Corey, why'd you hold out?
And then Corey will say, check your email.
I sent it to him long time ago.
Did you see how, I just assumed too?
Yes.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
So 9 times out of 10, if I make a beat and I know that it's one of them ones, I always send it to Bun first.
He sent it to me first.
And then he'll be like, it's cool.
Which song did you overlook that Corey sent you?
It was the Ball and G song. It was an A-Ball and MJG song. I can't think of it right now.
Probably this. It was a song called "Take a Picture" that I produced for Ball and G, and he called me, "Hey man, when you do that beat, how come you ain't send that to me?
Me and my wife will always be like, see, my wife would be like, Corey, you ain't send that.
Yeah.
Hey, you ain't send us that one. You know what I'm saying? And he'd be like, Bun,
Look
check
in
your
your
email.
email, search the name.
Pull up a screenshot and send it to him. Yes, I did.
Wow.
Then I gotta.
Yeah, that's happened.
Gotta check the emails.
Then I
Gotta
gotta
check
bite
the
my
emails.
tongue for a couple minutes. You know what I'm saying? But you know,
all
it
good.
always works out. I give him a lot of grief. You know what I'm saying? But I get the best out of him, and I give him my best. You know what I'm saying? And because it's always the best intention from us to give the people the best effort. You know what I'm saying? So we got to hold each other accountable every now and then, but it lends itself to the best project.
What's been your favorite memory of Pimp C?
The laughing. Like, I don't think people realize how silly he was. You know what I'm saying? Because that wasn't necessarily, and don't get me wrong, you look at a lot of interviews, and he's having a great time with life. Like, he really, really enjoyed life. But, you know, we never argued in the studio. We never really had opposing views, you know what I'm saying? We understood the direction we were going in, but we always took different ways. But we always ended up exactly where we needed to. But the level of humor that we used to have in the studio, sometimes people can, you know, sit around trying to look hard and act tough and stuff and all that in the studio, and that was never us. We were always very relaxed, very comfortable around each other, and we never really had nothing to prove. So he could crack on me, I could crack on him. I'd be like, you gonna wear some shorts this week? Because Pimp never wore shorts. So I would always tell him, I never saw him in my entire life with shorts. And I'd be like, man, we got that show in Miami. You gonna wear them shorts this weekend? And he would just look at you crazy because he already knew he wasn't going to wear no shorts, you know what I'm saying? But we had a really, really great friendship, you know what I'm saying? We understood each other very well, and we had a great time creating all that timeless music together. And Corey was in the room soaking up a lot of that game. So, you know, to be honest and fair, a lot of that still lives on through people like Corey and people like Steve Belo and people like Jazzy Faye, you know what I'm saying? People that are not just great producers in their own right, but they learned a lot being around Pimp C, and they're able to continue that legacy on through their music as well.
How about for you, Corey? A favorite memory?
A Pimp?
And maybe even interacting with just Bun B, and you saw that dynamic, and it's something that stays with you to this very day.
You know what? I remember when Pimp got out of jail, and it was the first session that him and Bun was in together in like 4 or 5 years, and I think it was the Isley Brother record, was it? And Pimp came in there, and Bun was in there, and I very rarely see them in the studio together because Pimp would normally come in at 3, 4 in the morning, and Bun would come in at 10, 11 in the morning. So they wouldn't be in the studio together a lot.
It's so great,
But, But this one particular song that they did with the Isley Brothers, they was in there together, and they were scrolling through Pimp's laptop, going through beats. And he kept going, what you think about this, Bun? What you think about this? And then he stopped, and Bun said, wait a minute, what was that? And it was the beat to International Players Anthem. And that's the only beat that Buns told him to stop. He said, wait, what's that? And Pimp looked at him and said, man, Paul sent this to me. Remember that?
Yep.
And Bun was like, wait a minute, but didn't they do that? Pimp was like, we finna do it again.
Well, that was Pimp's thing, was like it was a hit record. You know what I'm saying? But it never got the look that it needed to get. And they were like, you know, he was like, well, I think it's a hit. I think, you know, I'll rap to that. Because the whole point was to get a new beat. And they were like, we got new beats. It's not a problem. But he was like, no, that beat in particular, that's a hit record. Never got the exposure, and I'm going to show you. And then we got on, and the rest is history.
Absolutely.
But nobody had a better ear than Pimp. Like, he could see and hear things that people would just kind of write off. And he was like, no, that's the point. That's why this record is good. That's why it's essential.
How was it when you decided to put your solo album out, right? Like, how did you navigate that? We don't know if like duos or just groups in general have falling out, or was it pretty clear that you also wanted to do your own thing? Like, was there ever any issues? Or
I never wanted to be a solo artist. I felt like I was in the best group in the world. I had to do it out of necessity because unfortunately Pimp went to prison. And so that was the only way I could see to keep his name going, keep the group's name going, and keep this whole career that we had built up all this time, make it something that would still be available for him when he came home from prison. I never wanted to be a solo artist, so I had to call people like Corey, call people like Lil Jon, call people like Jazzy Faye and Manny Fresh, producers that were good friends of mine, understood what I was trying to do, and lent their professionalism to me. You know what I'm saying? Called rappers like Ludacris and T.I., and everybody could see the situation, right? Everybody loved Pimp like I did,
Yeah.
so they wanted Pimp to have something to come home to like I did, So that was the main thing. It was one of the most selfless things I'd ever done. Because doing a solo album is typically for you to have your moment and take your shine.
That's right.
But what I learned was that I had the confidence and the wherewithal that if I needed to take the lead, because Pimp had taken the lead for so long, but that if I needed to take the lead, that I was actually built for it, you know what I'm saying, and ready to take on that duty.
Where was your mindset at during that time? Pimp C's going to jail. Now, all eyes are on you.
Right.
What was going through your mind? At
I
that?
wasn't really prepared for it. I had been very lucky to just kind of sit in the background and let Pimp take the lead because that's really what he wanted to do. But at that point, I had no one to hide behind, right? It was me on the stage by myself taking lead. And it wasn't just about me, right? It wasn't just about the idea of Pimp, but there were other people dependent on me at that same time. My family was dependent on me.
Of course.
Different artists were dependent on me. So I had to get myself together. I went through a lot of depression, you know what I'm saying? I leaned into a lot of drinking at that time, but I got back reacquainted with God. I got back in a good church, and that put me in a position to get on solid footing and grounding. And then I just built a right team around me, my wife, my management, guys like Corey, guys like Josh and Chemist. And, I just built a tight circle around me to keep me motivated, keep me on my feet. And we just put our best foot forward, and it ended up working.
I feel like that's rare to have that kind of support.
Support is essential. And I know a lot of people out there that are probably listening to this are having to go through a life of tough times and situations where they don't have a support system. You know what I'm saying? And so I know that I'm blessed. I know that, in spite of how bad things looked, I had people to hold me up. I had people to keep me lifted up when I felt down. You know what I'm saying? So I've tried to be that person. There's so many artists, there's so many individuals and young people that just need to know that somebody cares. You know what I'm saying? I've just tried to be that for people.